Good morning, good evening, good whatever time you're watching this at. Welcome to yet another Pipedream speedrun. This speedrun is going to be yet another meta speedrun where we're going to use Pipedream to create a subscription between workflows so you can actually store the logs and errors from your workflows on an external service, aka AWS CloudWatch. This is really useful for extending the built-in error handling that Pipedream offers. You can have all of your logs from across all of your workflows in one central location and have the built-in metrics and error handling traps that AWS offers. But Pipedream subscriptions aren't just limited to only subscribing to error events. You can also send arbitrary custom events. All right, we're going to create 3 different workflows in this speedrun. The first is the one that's actually going to accept these error events, aka listen for the error events. So I'm just going to call this workflow error listener. And for now, I'm just going to deploy it. It's just an empty workflow. There's no actual action, and we're going to create the listener. So that's active. Next, I'm going to create another workflow that's actually creating this error. It's going to be a workflow that simply just creates an error. So we'll call it the whoops workflow, just for fun. And the action will be a Node.js step here. And it attempts, this is pretending that maybe we have a workflow that usually works and then occasionally we'll throw an error, something goes wrong. So we'll just simulate that by throwing a new error. And we'll just say whoops, because this is the whoops workflow. And I'll just deploy this as well. All right, so we have 2 different workflows, and now we need to connect them together, which we can use using a workflow. So I'm going to add another workflow here. This is a temporary, just one-off workflow. There's no trigger. We're going to run it one time. And we're going to use a brand new subscription action. This will create a brand new subscription with our Pipedream account, thanks to our friend Uluwatosin. He built this in less than 24 hours. It's amazing, and it's a really easy way to create subscriptions between accounts and delete them later if you want to delete them. So I'm going to connect my Pipedream account. The prompt is just asking you for your API key, which you can find in your settings. You just copy that and paste it in here. Connect that. Now we need to select the emitter ID. Now the emitter ID is the component or the workflow that will be emitting events that other workflows will subscribe to. And we can find this by going to our whoops workflow. Our whoops workflow has a special little string of characters in the URL that begins with P underscore. This is the ID of the workflow, and this is the ID of the emitter that we want to use. So I'm just going to use it, the custom expression, put the ID in there directly. And the event we want to subscribe to is the errors event. Finally, we want to set the listener ID. This is the component or workflow that is listening to this particular error stream of events. So I'm going to look into our account once more. There's the error listener workflow that we set up, the first workflow. I'm going to copy the ID and then paste it into our subscription. Now, this is kind of tedious if you want to set up a subscription between many workflows to one listening workflow, right? That's why there's this special pattern you can put in to have a asterisk, which means just apply to all workflows. So all the workflows in your account would actually send events to this one listening workflow if you choose this style. But for this video, we're just gonna make it one-to-one, keep it simple. But just know that that's a really powerful feature. So we'll click test, and there we go. We've successfully created the subscription, and we can see the response from the Pipedream API telling us the details about the subscription, like the ID and the configuration we sent it. We can also verify that this worked correctly by opening up our listening workflow, refreshing the page, and you can see there's an automatic trigger added. It's a special type of trigger that just has the Pipedream logo because it's an internal type of trigger. Another kind of fun quirk about the subscription system is that subscription events aren't sent in testing mode. They're only sent in production mode or after your workflow's deployed, so to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run our whoops workflow. It generated an error. The error is whoops. And we'll go over to our error listener and look at that. it generated a event and our workflow processed it. And now we can see the whole stack trace and message and the ID of the step itself within this workflow. So we've just successfully tied these two workflows together. All right, I'm assuming that you already know how to create an AIM in AWS and set up a access key and all of that. And you know how to create a basic CloudWatch log group. Right here, I'm going to create a quick log stream that Pipedream can pipe these errors into. So I'm going to create a log stream here. I'm going to name it the error workflow because that's the origin of these errors. I'm going to create that. And now we should be all set to connect this CloudWatch log stream to our error workflow. So we're back in our error listener inspector. I'm going to edit this workflow and add a brand new step to actually perform the logging. So AWS action has a special action that will put a log event into the stream. So we're going to select this CloudWatch logs put log event. I'm going to select my predefined AIM user, and my region is US East 1. And it's kind of nice about this action is that it will automatically look for your log groups. So you don't have to learn the underlying IDs. You can just select Pipedream. And then that log stream is this brand new stream we just created, the error workflow. And the message, we can use the message coming from another small kind of fun quirk about the subscription system is that we don't have access to that data, that event we created just now by throwing that error. We don't have access to that data within the builder in test mode. But if I go back to the workflow in the inspector mode, so I'm going to open this tab in a new screen here, go to my error listener, and then open this event in the inspector, I can copy the path still, it's just in a slightly different place. So I'm just going to grab the stack for this example, and I'm going to paste it in here and wrap it with these two handlebars or brackets so that it evaluates in JavaScript, and then also the timestamp. We can grab the timestamp from the error, the original event. There is a time value. We're going to copy the path to it. And then one little thing I noticed is that we need to make sure that it's in milliseconds. AWS will not allow us to create a log event that has a time without the millisecond specificity. So we'll times this by 1,000. And the sequence token is necessary for subsequent logs. In this case, it's the first log in this brand new stream, so it's not required. And like I said, we can't test it. We just need to deploy and create another event that should trigger it. So I'm going to go back to my whoops workflow and simulate another error happening in our workflow here. It's thinking about it. Errored. Heading back to our error listener workflow, we should see that the CloudWatch event is piped in. And we see down at the bottom, good, it actually stored the log. And if this was a real use case scenario, I would store that next sequence token in a data store to be used on the next error coming in. All right, let's head back to AWS, open up our error workflow, and sure enough, we can see the stream put right here, the error stack put right here into the CloudWatch log group. Now you can decorate this error message with more information such as the contextual data in the trigger or the ID of the workflow that actually emitted this error. But remember, we can use subscriptions for more than just tracking errors. We can send custom events and create channels for one workflow to handle different emissions from other workflows. It's almost like a queue system where you can offload events for one other processor to handle, and that processor is just really good at sending emails, for example, or sending text messages, whatever you'd like. So the subscription feature is very powerful, and we're happy to make it a little bit easier to use with brand new components for you. I hope you have a great day.